All right, guys, welcome back to the second part of the video. And as I said in the previous part of the video, this part of the video will be a little more in depth. I won't be talking as much to be a little more silence here, but as I'm talking, I will explain to you or try to explain to you almost everything I'm doing and why I'm clicking on it. And as I click on it and apply these effects, I'll play the audio so you can hear how it changes the audio in real time. Now, it's not to say that you have to, again, use every single effect that I'm using, but the main three, again, I want to reiterate, should be the compressor, the limiter, and the EQ. If you forget everything else from this point on forward, as far as effects, that's okay. You can experiment with them, but you should generally always apply these three right here and adjust the settings. So here we are. And because I have a rack for this audio here, I want to go ahead and click on it or a preset, should I say. And the way you say presets is that you go in, you find your presets that you want to use by clicking these fly out arrows over here again. And, you tweak them. And of course, let's say you edit audio for a living. You don't want to have to keep coming back in here and, finding the presets and applying them and finding the presets and applying them. You can save a preset rack. So the way you do that, and for example, I have these three right here saved, and I want to save them instead of having to come in here and look for them. I can click this little option right here, little arrow, and I can name it, favorite preset rack, and then hit OK. Then when I come back in here, it would be, in here somewhere, favorite preset rack. So in this case here, I have one called test mic preset, and I have one for the talent on the microphone that she used at the time to record. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on it. And as you see again, I have my compressor, my EQ, and my limiter, and I'll go over the denoiser and the processing down the road. And I'll just go ahead and click back. That's what I'll do. I'll go test mic here. I'll say okay. And all that notification is Audition saying we have adaptive noise reduction, and depending on your rig or your PC specs, it might not be the best preset to have played without first saving the effects and playing it in real time. That's all it's saying. But I have a pretty good rig, so I'm not really worried about that. So um, let's start with the limiter. I'll turn everything else off. Well, first we'll turn everything off.
Is
And
a
here's that audio.
like a peace, love, and happiness.
And so again, it's really low. And as you can see, I've already converted it into stereo. We have left and right over here. All right, so let's start with the limiter. We'll toggle it on, and I'll just turn it on, and I'm gonna hit this arrow. And here's where I can edit the effects of the limiter. So we go to effects, edit, or edit effect, and my default it'll drop down. It'll say default, of course, by like this by default, and you will have these settings right here. Um, what you want to do, and again, the limiter's job is to either reduce the highest point of your audio, or if you want, you can boost it and then still limit it. Depends on how loud you want your audio to get. Um, so it controls how high you want the audio to get. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a +9, and I should probably explain what's going on here. The two main settings you'll want to adjust is your maximum amplitude, and of course your input boost. The top option here simply allows you to turn down the overall volume of your sound. Now, the way sound works is that the closer you get to zero, the louder it gets, and the further away you get from zero, the lower the sound gets. And of course, it's measured in decibels. So what most people refer to is just volume, and the technical term is called decibels. So if you hear me say we're going to turn down by a -6 decibels or -12 decibels, that's the audio measurement. Also, I would like to note um, that there's a huge difference, and I just probably said this, but I'm going to kind of reiterate it. If you say we're going to decrease or increase, if you're going to say we're going to go back by 6 or up by 6, and again, remember, if you're going away from zero, you have to remember that it's -6. So if you're turning sound down by decibels, you're going to say -6 or -12, not just down by 12. Because someone who doesn't know better would just type in 12. And what happened, I think it might even show you right. I'm going to type in 12. And as you see, we're at 0. All right. And of course, when we type in positive numbers, we're getting closer to 0 or even over 0. That increases the sound. So we have to always know if we're turning sound down, it's always the minus sign in there first and then the actual number. So you can type in whatever number you want here. You can type in -6, -18, doesn't really matter. As you type it in, this little dial right here will go back towards your left. And the idea is to get away from zero if you want to turn it down. We don't want that. We want to just set the highest point it would get to in this case right here. So I don't want it to exceed -9, or actually I'll say -6 decibels. I'll type in -6 there. And that tells this audio track do not go higher than -6, and you'll see it over here in this area. Also want to boost the overall volume by 9 decibels. Notice I'm not typing in just -9, I'm typing in 9. So I want to go up by 9, and I'm telling it, don't let it go past -6. So wherever it's set now, if it's down here at, 24, I'm sorry, -24, I want to boost it by 9 decibels. So we're going closer to zero, but I'm telling it, don't let it go higher than -6. And we'll play it and see how it sounds.
And that's me. Like I'm just
All right. So it's a little better. It's not a lot of improvement, but it is better than what it was. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn this down to -3. So it has room for now, and you can always adjust this. It has room to go up to -3 if need be. That doesn't mean that all her sound should be at -3. It means that her highest point, like if she says like a yeah or a okay, really loud or energetic, that highest point will be at -3. But we're still trying to shoot between that -6 and -12 or -9, -15 for that normal listening range. So we'll leave this the way it is right now. We'll come back to it and tweak it as we go down the road. All right, the next thing we're going to turn on, um, let's do the compressor. I'm going to just turn it back on. And I also want to note if this green light is not on, all your changes or none of your changes will take effect until you turn the effect back on. We'll come in here, we go to edit. And I think these settings are a preset. I won't get into too much the threshold and the gain, things like that. Not in this part of the video, maybe down the road if I do a more in-depth video on frequencies and thresholds and gains. I might cover that in there. If you guys want me to, I can. But the general idea of the compressor again is just to kind of level things out. And it says custom here. I'm going to see. Kind of wish I hadn't changed it. Let me see if I could do broadcast. Okay, so you have presets in here as well, depending on how you recorded your sound, whether it was, of course, a guitar or, a bass drum or anything like that, or different effects you can lay on here. But we're going to apply the broadcast compressor effect, and it's already set for us. And the only thing that I'm going to do to it is turn it up, maybe the overall gain of the compressor by maybe 3 decibels, and we'll hit play.
I'm a spirit. Like in my YouTube description it says talent
And that's a very, very big improvement right there. So we'll turn it off.
spirit vibe. And
We're
that's just
down here at -24.
what I go by like every
We kind
day.
of peak
Like
up to negative
I
what,
want people to be like, yeah,
18,
when Unique's around, it's just a
-16.
whole different vibe or
All right, we'll turn the compressor on.
whole different spirit. And I love that and I want to keep that forever.
And remember, the compressor's job is to go in and kind of bring everything up and level it out. All right.
And
And all I did was just turn the overall volume or gain, to be technical, of the compressor up by 3. Now, be careful. You don't want to overdo this, but you can push it. We'll push it by 6. And the reason I like to work in 3s or 6s is because a noticeable change to the average human listener is around 5 to 6 decibels. Sometimes you only need 3 decibels to make it sound a bit lower or higher. Sometimes you may need -6 decibels or +6 decibels, and so on from there. 1 or 2 decibels, generally, most people won't hear it, but that's why you like to work in 3s or 6s or even 9s, 12, 15, and you make the changes in those sort of increments. So that's how I'm coming to this whole, +3 or -3 or +6, +12. I'm just kind of working from that rule right there and listening to the change in the sound. So in this case here, we'll go up by 6, or I'm sorry, we'll go up by 3. It goes to 6. We'll hit play.
if I could change one thing in this world, it would be to give off a good vibe that makes people want to.
All right, so it's much louder. And I might come back in the final settings and turn this down by 1 or 2 decibels. I might turn it back down to -3, or I'm sorry, I might turn it down 3 decibels just to kind of get it a little more under control. But for now, we'll leave it there. Okay. And then next we have our EQ, the parametric EQ. And what that does is really cool because we have the ability to go in and sort of improve or reduce or eliminate different frequency ranges. Now, a very high level or I guess quick overview of frequency ranges. Sound works in three different ranges. Of course, you have your low or what we call bass, which I believe is one. I think it's 200 on down to 0 hertz. You have from 200 to 1K, which is your mid tones, and of course, you have from 3K to 10K, which is your high. So, for example, someone like Barry White is down here in the lows, maybe mids. Someone like Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey sings from more of the high range right here. And the idea of an equalizer is to go in and accent or flavor or help out that speaker's or singer's range, frequency range via EQ. So we wouldn't EQ Mariah Carey or Whitney Houston, the same way we would EQ a Barry White, because obviously male and female, they're singing in very different frequency ranges. So in this case here, we have female talent, and she's not speaking from the low end of the frequency range. And also, this low end down here, this 100 on back, this 100 hertz on back is usually considered to be garble, noise, bass, rumble, and she's not a bass guitar, so we don't need that. She's not a bass mic on an organ, on a Leslie organ or anything, or I'm sorry, a Leslie speaker on an organ. She's not playing the lows. She's not a kick drum. So we don't need that sort of frequency to be played back in our audio. We want to make it brighter and lighter. So the first thing we can do before we crank or push any other audio frequencies is to reduce the bottom end. Now in the EQ, what this is called is a high pass filter. You have a high pass filter and you have a low pass filter. Now I know they may sound like, of course, the high pass affects the high pass or the high frequency ranges and the low pass affects the low. For some reason, I don't know, it's actually backwards. The high pass filter affects the low frequency range, and the low pass filter affects the high ranges. So, again, because we have female talent, we want to get rid of that bottom part of her range, make it sound brighter and lighter, a little more lively. So, what we're going to do is we're going to apply a high pass filter. And I think the default setting for this effect when you first apply it is at 40 hertz. So what we're going to do is we're going to target everything from 80 hertz, and we're still down here in this 100 hertz range, which is all bottom, so all bass, rebel. We're going to target 80 hertz, and we're going to turn it down by 24 decibels. And remember, the further away we get from zero, the lower things get. And if you go, of course, too far, then you don't hear them anymore. So in this case here, we're going to start at 80 hertz, and we're going to turn it down by 24 decibels. Now, generally speaking, when you apply a high pass filter, most people will cut, as we call it, at 80 hertz. And sometimes, depending on the recording environment or the sound they're going for or the talent, they'll cut at 120. I'm going to start at 80, and we're going to leave it at 24 decibels. So we're saying everything from 80 hertz on down to zero is going to be reduced by 24 decibels. All right. And on the high end, we don't actually have it on here, so it's not going to do anything. But what that does is that it goes in and automatically makes your voice not sound as quiet or muffled or deep, and it should have a brighter effect on the audio track. So the effect is on, and I'll explain these other changes here as well. But we're going to just play it. Excuse me. We're going to just play it and hear how it sounds with the equalizer on. And we'll turn it back off, and I'll come back and explain to you what else we have going on here as well. So here it is of it being on.
Be nice and caring and live in a happy world.
Let's skip
For
into
being a
it.
Capricorn, I know one sign that I feel like we don't match with.
All right, so enough of that. And so I'll turn it off again. And you might want to put some headphones on to hear the exact difference, but there is a difference there.
It's Gemini's.
Okay, actually, I can hear it pretty clearly here. Listen to how it sounds it's a little lower, not as, getting bright on the high side.
I feel like
See how her voice sounds a little, I guess, low, or it's kind of tough to describe
Gemini's
right
are
here.
true to that description that they have.
You don't hear that brightness in it. We'll turn it back on.
Like that two-faced.
And that just sounds obviously lighter, which is what we want. It's a female voice.
Like I feel like Gemini's, and Let me rewind because
All right, so that's there. And all I did was just go in, hit the edit button, and I just simply cut at 80 hertz and left it at minus 24 decibels. And of course, if you want to turn it up, you can, but you generally don't have to go beyond minus 24 decibels. Um, Now, what you can do if you want, and it's up to you, you can, of course, you can cut it at maybe 120 hertz, and we'll just do it to see what kind of effect it has on it. And notice our little line here changed. And so now we're telling it everything from 120 hertz on back to zero is reduced by 24 decibels. So we can play it now.
I'm talking about the male side.
Skip a little
Dang, see
closer,
this topic. So talking live and talking to the mic, like I feel like I'm talking.
and we'll turn it back to 80 hertz.
Maybe I should just move it.
And you could probably go with either way, 120 or 80. It's kind of up to you, but generally we start at 80. Just to kind of get rid of that bottom end of the voice there. So next, what we have here in the EQ section, we have, of course, other frequency ranges. And again, this depends on your talent. If it's a male or female and the range that they're singing or speaking, then you will adjust this accordingly. Now, because this is a female here and we want to make her voice brighter, what I'm going to do is that I've already done it actually. So we have from 1K on back is just simply called hertz. Everything from 1K going forward is what we call kilohertz. So that's why it doesn't, well, it kind of does show here. If you look kind of closely, it just says, 2, 3, 400. And then if you look up here, it says 1K, 2K, and so on. So what I've done is I went to the kilohertz, the higher end of the frequency range, and I've simply selected 10,000 hertz, and that's where the female voice generally rides at on the highest part of it. And I'm going to boost that frequency range by 5 decibels. And I'll turn it down to 0, and notice that our point went back to 0 here. I'll play it.
Okay, maybe that's better.
And hear how kind of muffled, kind of the voice kind of sounds. Doesn't sound as bright. Let's play a little bit more.
So I had all these ideas. I always wanted my own YouTube channel and a blog and to do all
right, and we're going to turn it back up by 5 decibels. You should hear a change.
this stuff and to do tutorials. I wanted to do makeup tutorials because I've been doing makeup since I was like.
Now it sounds more like, all female in the microphone. So that's the sound we're generally going for right there. Is to make, or to accent or to boost or flavor the subject and make them sound a little more lively. So that's why we did that right there at the 10,000 hertz at plus 5 decibels. Now, depending on, again, their voice, the environment, the microphone, you might need 3 decibels. You might need 1. You might not need anything at all to change on the high end. Different mics pick up different ways and they affect the way the talent sounds. So again, these numbers are not set in stone. You have to kind of come in here and experiment with them and see what sounds what without making it sound overdone and without making it sound horrible and too garbly and low and heavy and not really easy to listen to. And what I did to kind of help her mid tones out, the 200 and 800 hertz range, that's kind of more of the mid there. I just cranked it by 3 decibels. You don't need a lot. And sometimes you may need 1 or 2 decibels to make it sound a little bit fuller without adding too much to it. Because you don't want it to sound like the middle or the mid tone of the voice is kind of pushing through and there's no low or high end. And what I do is I'll purposely crank this up so you can hear how it sounds if you mess it up. I'm going to turn this down to 0. And these are our mid tone ranges. We'll go here and we'll just do 12. We'll boost it by 12. It's pretty extreme.
In like 8th grade in hair tutorials. I've been doing hair since I was.
And here I was like all mid tone right there.
In like 6th grade. And yeah, like that's why like right now.
We don't want that. That's a big no-no. Go back down to 3. We'll do it here again. Enter.
All that stuff is so easy to me. Like, oh, that's.
And we'll set it to 0 so you can hear how it was previously.
Literally so easy. So I always want to do videos.
So her voice is bright. We got the high end. We got rid of the lows.
Videos on that. And
And we want to hit her in the mids, give her a little power in the mid tone. So we'll hit here. We'll say 3. 3. Oh, well, it's way too much. Not 33. 3.
I wanted to like model. I wanted to make movies. I wanted to.
And now it sounds nice and full.
Shoot, even make some songs.
All right. And also notice how our levels are much higher than what they were before. I think we had a point where she was up at 0, and we'll go back and adjust our limiter accordingly. And that's why I said earlier we have to come back and kind of change it as we start stacking effects to this.
But I
Let's
don't
play right
see.
here.
Down to earth.
Yeah, right there. So she's like down to earth. We're spiking. We're hitting 0. The technical term for hitting 0, um, I believe the technical term is, let me pull it back into my head here. Clipping. There it is. It's called clipping. So on a analog board, it'll just say clip, which means, or it won't even say clip. It'll just light up. It'll say 0, or it'll just show red. But once you clip or you hit 0 or you see anything red, that means you're too loud and you're going over 0. Digital boards will actually say clipping. It'll actually flash and say clip on the digital boards. And here we just know because we're not on an actual mixer, we just see the red. Red for any audio level is never good. Green is okay. Yellow is the sweet spot. Red is a big no-no. So that's why we don't want to be in the red here. So we're going to go back in a minute and adjust our limiter and not let it get that high. All right. So we've applied the compressor. We've applied the limiter, and we'll tweak that in a moment. And we'd applied our EQ here, and that brought her voice to life. We kind of flavored the area or range she was speaking from and got rid of the area where she wasn't speaking from. So next thing we're going to apply, um, we'll do the adaptive noise reduction. Now, the adaptive noise reduction, there are two ways to do this. And what this does is that in any room, unless you're in some sort of like soundproof chamber, I forget the technical term of them, but they're actual rooms that are built to have no sound bouncing around or echoing in them, or things called reverb. And I'll probably find it and put it in the video, but they're actual rooms that are built where it's like padding, not, it's like padding in the whole room. And when you speak, you can't hear your voice come back to you because it's absorbed into the walls. So unless you're in one of those chambers, um, you're going to have the sound bounce around somewhere. You're going to have some sort of what we call room tone, where the mic is picking up something that's being heard in the room, whether you hear it or not. That's always present, whether it's just, a light buzzing in the ceiling, a fan, a vent, just anything, just any kind of room tone will be there. So what the noise reduction does, depending on how severe or how present um, the room tone or the background noise is, it goes in and it tries to, excuse me, it goes in and it tries to eliminate that sound so you have nice, clean audio. Now I'm going to play this track again. And I'll probably go to the beginning here and I'll be quiet and you can hear just a room tone here in the audio. So let's listen to it real quick and we'll see how we can get rid of it. So you heard it there, that little hissing, little humming. Um, Maybe a vent might have been on. I'm not really sure, but it was there. So we want to get rid of that because you want her voice to be as nice and quiet and isolated as possible. So we're going to turn on our adaptive noise reduction. And there is an alternate way to get this effect, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you this way here because I believe it's a more effective way of getting rid of background noise. So we turn it on and we'll go to our effects edit. Now the cool thing about this is that unless you have like a siren blaring in the background or someone's phone playing on speaker, actually these default settings work very well. I haven't really had to go in here and change too much with this. Now I think about it, I haven't really changed any of it. I just simply applied the effect, and for some reason it's saying custom. I don't know why it's saying custom. Um, but I haven't had to change any of these effects. And what it does is that when you play it, it listens to the room tone. It takes about a half a second or second at best and cuts it out of all the audio. And we're gonna play it now from the beginning. And notice how that room tone will be there for like maybe a half a second and it's just gone. So here it is. Here's the active adaptive noise reduction effect on the track. Let's listen.
Hey everyone, and welcome back.
All right. So let's listen to it one more time. And notice in the beginning you'll hear it and it's immediately kind of just shut down in like literally a couple, probably not even a second. So here it is again. And one more time, completely gone, all quiet. Now all you hear is her voice. You don't hear any kind of background noise. Now you might not care about that originally, but when you start doing audio, or if you start doing audio, as more a primary job or anything like that, or editing for other people, you'll want to get it as quiet and full and professional sounding as possible. And this tool works really well. Now, if you're in like, a bar, I think we had a project in the past where we shot, or some of our classmates shot like in a bar somewhere or a club or wherever it was at, and there was a lot of noise in the background. Um, excuse me again. The effect will not work as well. So you generally want to be in somewhat of a quiet environment with little noise as possible for this to have the best effect on it. And it's just an adaptive noise reduction, and it quiets everything down in the background. Now what we're going to add, and I probably won't add the processing. We'll see how it sounds at the end. Now we're going to add the de-esser. And what the de-esser does is it goes in and it listens to, and this may sound a little weird in the microphone, but it listens to the stuff like the tss, 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 listens to that kind of stuff in speaking or in the words you spoke, and the audio to be more specific. And what it does is that quiets it down. And the reason why you want that there is because without those frequencies being checked, they can sound piercing to the listener. So if someone has their car video up really loud, or the speaker, up really loud in a room, or even have headphones on and they're cranked to 9,000, and someone gets to making those T's and P's and those lip smacking sounds, it can sound piercing. The de-esser goes in and it detects those frequency ranges and brings them down or minimizes them so they won't get out of control. So we'll go in here and turn it on. We'll hit edit effect. And I think the default setting for this is set to 30 decibels. I have it turned down at minus 45. And the reason how we know where it's going to affect, again, those T's, those kind of sounds, those get out of hand. Those are more on the high end of the frequency range. And right here, it's already set to look between roughly 3,500 and 6K, the frequency range there. And it's going to decrease anything in that range, which is the T's and the P's and the smacking of the lips. It's going to decrease it by 45 decibels. And what'll happen is that it won't turn down the sound. It just turn down the sound or the frequencies in this specific range right here. So we'll turn it on. It's already set. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. And we'll just play it. Actually, I'll turn it off, and we'll try to find a point in here where she does do that. Let's see here.
Top of my notes, I said that
I think right there is a good example. Where's that at? Listen to it again. Listen to the I said.
at the top of my notes, I said that I
Yeah, that's right there. So stuff like that is going to get rid of. We'll turn it back on. And it shouldn't be as prominent here.
actually, at the top of my notes, I said that I was going
So it'll turn it down a little bit.
I said that I was going
And you can always go back in here and adjust it and turn it down a little bit more. You don't want to get too it. Let's crank it up and see what it does here. It's probably a bad idea.
I said that I was going to say the positive side of all these topics.
So it kind of gets rid of the stuff like that off the end of it there. It's good to have. Now one thing that's really good if your talent is not too close to the mic or they're not doing a lot of that, kind of stuff in the microphone, then that's fine. But this is good to have if you do get someone that does that a lot in the microphone. We'll go back to maybe minus 45 here. If you don't want to get too heavy handed with it.
everything can have two sides to it, but
And as you see, it's actually playing, it's active now.
I just want to focus on the positive things of all of these topics, and how to get over criticism is to have confidence within
And it's just looking for that frequency range. And when anything hits up in there, it's going to kill it.
yourself, and just to love yourself to the fullest.
Maybe we can turn it down. Maybe let's do minus 50.
Because people are always going to talk
All right. And we just told it to look for still looking for everything between the 3 and 6K range. And it's just looking for anything that exceeds minus 50 decibels. And when it does, it's going to just turn it down. And that just gets rid of that, the T's and the S's there. All right. So we have our processing. We might not bother that. We have our EQ, which again, kind of accents. Now I'll turn it off so you guys can hear it. So here it is without the EQ.
always. And people talked about me like bad. I'm
It will turn it back on. She says sound brighter and liver, or lighter, should I say.
a earth sign. Like I'm earth. You know, I'm nice. And shoot, even make some songs. I always wanted to dance.
All right. And so, again, depending on, the microphone environment and these settings here, the change may or may not be as noticeable, and you can kind of adjust it from there. So, one final thing we're going to turn on is the processor, and you might not always need this. Let's see if I go in here. Do I want to mess with this? I don't. I'm going to just turn it on and see.
In a video.
We're not going to bother with it. Um, we're not going to bother with it. So, if you just kind of remember, the compressor, the limiter, and the EQ is your main three. And if you want to get rid of, or if you feel you need to get rid of noise reduction in the background, then you can. Now, if your background has some kind of ambient sound in it, again, if you're in a controlled environment and it's a scene in a bar, then you might want some noise in the background, maybe some background chatter, a bartender, washing glasses, or, a door opening, or, someone pouring something in a cup, something like that. You don't want to kill that kind of noise. But if you're in a room on a voiceover or you're speaking on a recording, then you don't want doors opening in the background chatter, somebody, folding paper. You don't want that kind of stuff in there. So that's where you will apply that effect. All right. Now what I'm going to do, I actually have a preset here. I'm going to click back to it, and it has all the same tools or presets here, or effects, should I say. They just sound a little bit better. I went through and made them a little more effective. It's called this one right here.
My gosh, I just wanted to just always do that. I love Sierra growing up. Sierra was my idol.
Okay, and then real quick before we go any further, I did mention earlier, I probably can't go back to it. Let me see.
Sierra, not Sierra's.
I think I messed it up. All right. Um,
Sierra was my idol. And I loved her so much. And I
so one thing I did mention earlier was I might be able to get it right here, was adjusting the limiter. So yeah, I'll purposely crank this up my 3 more decibels. We'll go to 6.
still do. And she just got
And I'll go back to my limiter. And what I would do is I would hit this by 9.
like she's just so amazing to me. I just love Sierra.
I'll just set this
So
to 1.
long story short, I had all these goals and these things I've always
And let's just say you apply all your effects and this is how your
just wanted to
sound comes
do.
out.
And I just started getting these signs like follow this way, follow this, do this. And I listen.
So we're up there in the, -3 range. We're in red. We don't want that. This is where we would come back in. We would adjust our limiter. We'll say -9 or -3.
And when I listen, like I got the best
And
outcome ever. Like I'm really
I'm looking at my
doing
levels over
a
here,
podcast series.
-6, and we're okay. All right. So we have the audio. It's all mixed down. We've added our effects to it. And again, to save the effects, once you have the rack over here you want, you hit this little save effects preset option and just name it whatever. Maybe if you have 2 different mics, you'll save one preset for one mic and then another preset for another mic. That's always an option for you as well. So that's that. And then to quickly, if you want to fade audio in or out, you can grab this fade in handle here and you can drag it accordingly. Depending on how long or how aggressive you want your fade to be, you can do this right here. I don't know why your fade would be, 14 minutes. That's pretty insane. Fades usually last for what, 5 to 10 seconds. Sometimes 3 seconds coming in, 10 seconds going out. It depends on what you're recording, how you want it to sound. And you can do it on the end as well. Click and hold, and you can be more aggressive with it. You can adjust it however you want. And the fade just turns the music down over a period of time, so it won't be a hard stop or a hard starting point for the listener. Um, so we want to get the music sounding like this, or get the track sounding like this.
How many people like I'll say something, I'm like, yeah.
All right, so we want to add background music. Now, if we go back to our track, first of all, let's go ahead and apply these settings. And once we have everything over here, we want to actually save it to the track by hitting apply. And depending on how long the track is and how many settings you have, it may take a bit longer. But this process here is the last thing you're going to do to your audio before you add music to it. And if this takes too long, I might just cut and come back. But it seems to be going along pretty quickly, so we should be done here in a few more seconds. All right. And there's our audio. And of course, we have these sort of, flat sort of peaks right here. Um, and I guess a bit of a technical term for this, you have a high point being a peak and a low point being a valley. We can zoom in some more here. So here's the peak, here's the valley, peak, valley, peak, valley. And the reason they look kind of flat up top is because our limiter, remember, is set not to let it go past -6. For a voiceover, it's fine. You're not going to ruin anything. You may look at other audio tracks and see they're a little bit more liberal with their highest point. But for this video, for this audio, we don't want it to go higher than -6. All right. So now we want to add background music. And first, we're going to import our music into Audition. Then we're going to add it via the multi-track. So to import music, we can double click in our blank space, or we can do, excuse me, we can do Control or Command I. I'm going to go ahead and double click, and I'm going to go back here. I have a background music folder, and I'll just grab, I'll grab this right here. How long is this track? 9 minutes. Excuse me again. Um, so we have a 9-minute track, and I'm going to grab the second one. What is this called? Honey Pots. We'll grab this one. So the original track is 2 minutes long, or 2 minutes and some change, and it's been looped to last for 9 minutes. Now the reason for that is because we have a approximately 26-minute long audio file, and I wanted the music to change every so often in the background. So we have our imported music. Let's go ahead and send our track over to our multi-track portion of Audition. So in order to do that, we can simply, and what you can do probably is even save this. When you see the asterisk next to your audio file, it means it's not saved. And a quick side note, if you see an asterisk at the top of your program monitor or in Premiere Pro, it means it's not saved. So asterisk means not saved. So you probably want to save it at this point, call it whatever you want to call it. But we're going to go ahead and send it over to our multi-channel. We'll go right click, insert into multi-track, and we'll say new session, and just leave everything the way it is and hit OK. In Premiere Pro. Audition will say, do you want to overwrite? You can just hit yes. All right. Huh? Oh, hit yes. All right. So here we are in a multi-track panel of Audition. And now, of course, we have our audio or our vocals on track 1, and we want to add music to track 2. All right. Let me see. The best way to do this is to simply click and drag any track you want. And this is just yelling at us saying that, hey, the music is recorded at a different bit rate. Do you want to change it? Just hit OK. Doesn't affect it. Just converts it so it fits and you're fine. As you can see here, the audio track is only 2 minutes and our voiceover track is 26 minutes. Now, what you can do is you can either add in audio. You can add in multiple tracks on audio track 2 to kind of play as background music for the duration of 26 minutes. Or you can extend this audio track to last, say, 9 minutes, and then add another track and make it last 9 minutes, and so on from there until you reach the 26-minute mark. Now, the process is the same for any audio track you want to extend to last whatever your duration is. And the way that's done, I'm actually going to go back. I'll leave this here. I'll go back to my audio track, the original audio track, that is. And let's find it here. We'll double click on it. And we're going to send this audio track itself to a multi-channel panel. We'll right click on it, or multi-track panel. We'll say new multi-track session. We'll, of course, leave it there. We'll say OK and hit yes. And now here's the track, 2 minutes long. And let's say you want to get it to last 9 minutes. You simply hit on Properties, Enable Remix. Wait for this process to go along here. And once that's done, you can now determine how long you want the track to be. So it's 2 minutes, 14 seconds. We'll make it 9 minutes. And now you have a seamlessly or a seamless, is that right? Seamlessly? You have a track that has loops in it that can not be detected. We'll just put it that way. I don't want to butcher the word anymore. But so as you play it, that's a bit loud. Let's turn it down a bit. We'll start at -6. And that's still too loud for my taste there. And you can always adjust this back when you take into the other panel. All right. So if you zoom in, that's just mouse wheel up. As you can see, I'll expand this right here a bit. And I'm just using mouse wheel to expand this panel here. Clicking and dragging over here. And if you look right here, we have a break in the audio. And what Audition did, it went in and grabbed it and looped it. This is virtually undetectable unless you're looking at this and I can see you looped it. Otherwise, hearing it, you won't be able to tell it's been looped. So let's play it. You can't tell it's been looped. And of course, if you scrub through it, the little squibbly break right here, let's play it again. Here comes the loop. Plays right through. And you can make this as long as you want. You can make it an hour, you can make it a half an hour, 10 minutes, doesn't really matter. Audition will just loop it infinitely, and there you go. So if you're done with the length of the track, you probably want to go ahead and save it or export it back out of here so you can take it to your first project. You go to multi-track, mix down, and you say entire session. Now you have the option of doing selected clips. Let's say you have 4 or 5 tracks and you want to just do 2, and you select those 2, and you of course hit selected tracks. But in this case here, you have 1 track, so you say entire session. And it's called mix down. And here's the track right here. Okay. We'll go back to our first multi-track panel, which is right here. Here's our original audio. And here's our looped audio. And we'll say okay. And now this audio is designed to last for, I think it was 9 minutes. And if you want, you can simply move this right here, delete this one, doesn't really matter. Move it over, and you're set to go. It'll last for 9 minutes. So let's say you had 2 or 3 more tracks that were 3 or 4 minutes long. Just loop them the same way I just showed you. Mix them down, bring it back here, and lay them in place. Now, if you wanted, you could stack them. You could have like 1 track here. You could have, 1 track here. And there's no real need to do that unless you just wanted to. They're all fine playing on the same track. It doesn't really matter. All right. And so what you would do then at this point is that the music was too loud, you would just come over here and just turn the music down so it fits underneath the voice. All right. So once you have the music in here and you've got it in the right place, you want to turn it down, you come right here and adjust about -3, -6 or whatever decibels you want. If it wasn't loud enough, then you just increase it by 3 and just play it from there. And we're going to zoom in on this, trim this fat off right here. All right. And then for voiceovers, I like to have about 5 seconds of just the music so the listeners can get a bit acclimated to the music being there. And then the voiceover comes in on top of the music. So about 5 seconds, I like to have that right there. Let's see here. All right. Let's zoom in a little bit more. And I probably want to start with that. And then I want to fade. So I grab my fade handle. Something like that, maybe. Not long enough. Right there. Let's come in a little bit more. Drag the whole track over. Extend the fade a bit. Play from the beginning.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to You on the Mic, episode number.
Now, one final thing I did notice is that the music is eh, kind of somewhat on the same level as her voice. You want the music to be in the background to complement her voice, not compete with it or overshadow it. So in this case here, I would click on my second track and I would do -3. Or in this case, I would just go back to 0.
3.
Still too loud. I would do -6. So just jump there.
Um, I really gotta stop saying
Skip into it a
every
bit.
day to the end of your day because
And I might want to boost her volume a bit here, about a few decibels.
confidence is you letting yourself know that you are okay and you are great. And no matter what goes on,
And there it is. And now, if you were done with this, let's say you had other music that you brought in and it was, over here at the end, and you were done with this session, you would go to multi-track, mix down, and of course, in this case here, you want all the music and the vocals to come back out as one audio file. You would say entire session, and it would spit it back out. And when you come over here, you would have a track that looks like this. And if you play it,
it's okay. Nobody's perfect. We're episode number 3
and of course, music's in the background, her voice is on top of that. You skip through it.
that I'm compatible with. They say this is what,
And we'll skip forward again.
oh, you want to do this. Here's this. Here's a present for this.
And the music is nicely in the background. And of course, when you're done, you would go to File, Save As, and of course, save it wherever you want to save it. And then one final note I want to point out, saving it as a WAV or MP3, the average listener won't hear the difference and the formats. The advantage of saving an MP3 is file space, the amount of space that, of course, the file is on your hard drive. And some audio enthusiasts, audiophiles, or purists might get a little upset if you recommend saving an MP3, but generally speaking, most people will play MP5 of MP3s. Waves sound a little bit better, they have a little more detail. They also take up a little more space on your hard drive as well. So keep that in mind. If you're saving in a wave, it's fine. You want to save space, you can save MP3. Most people won't know the difference, so don't panic about that. Change the format, hit the drop down arrow, then go to MP3, and it changes it. And then you will rename the file and just save it wherever you want it, and you're done. So I think I've covered everything in this both lengthy and in-depth tutorial video for Adobe Audition. If you guys have any questions, message me, in Messenger or in Canvas, or just see me in class. And hopefully I can help you guys go from there. I think that's been it for the video. I can't even speak right now. I believe that's all for the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.